Home opening night for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who put on a show tonight against the Atlanta Hawks.
What a good one.
I'm telling you, Chet Holmgren doing his thing. That guy's been spectacular to start the season.
He really has, yeah.
We'll have a lot more on the Oklahoma City Thunder throughout the rest of the show, who have looked every bit like the contender that they have been billed as. But we welcome you into the show tonight. Welcome in. I am Brian Keating alongside Hannah Hoover. It is time for Crashing the Boards.
Let's crash the boards.
Now here's the deal. We showed you the best part of the show first.
Yeah, that's the all fine and dandy part of Oklahoma right now.
We wanted to lead with the best part of it because we got to get to the college football. We certainly got plenty on the Sooners and plenty on the OSU Cowboys. Let's start tonight with the Oklahoma Sooners, who, look, they've been in they haven't played well, and they were on the road against Ole Miss. And you know what? I thought Jackson Arnold played tough, and he did some things early in the ball game. He gave Oklahoma a chance. They actually had the lead at halftime, and then the second half happened, and that's where it went all wrong for Oklahoma. And so the Sooners lose 26-14. It's their third straight in the SEC, and 10, count them, 10 sacks for the head coach, Brent Venables.
I think it just showed, what we're capable of, and today's there are some signs there, but again, there's no silver lining. Our expectation was to come here and win. If we, can play our best, 4 quarters of football, complementing each other, doing the things that we needed to. We showed that we can do it, and obviously it's a 60-minute 4-quarter game, and we weren't able to sustain that.
So obviously a disappointing Saturday for the University of Oklahoma. It's been a lot of disappointing Saturdays for the University of Oklahoma. I will set it up to you. So here we are. They're 4-4. They're 1-4 in the SEC. Hadn't gone as planned for the Sooners, no doubt about that.
This is not how anyone drew it up going into the SEC, and I will give this stat. The Sooners haven't lost 3 games by double digits since 1998. That's one we saw a lot. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. Don't come at me for that. But
it's okay if you are. It's okay if you are. Swiftie over here is no big deal.
I'm really not, I promise. 1998 era, don't quiz me on any of her songs.
Okay.
But that's kind of how it feels in this season. And you don't want to say that. You want to be positive. I will give one note on Jackson Arnold. I thought this was the Jackson Arnold we were going to see at the beginning of this season, maybe in a Tennessee game. You may not win against Tennessee, but I just thought this is who we were going to see from Jackson Arnold. And I was impressed by him. He had 22 for 31, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 10 sacks does not set up any quarterback for success. Maybe they all weren't exactly sacks. I think you mentioned that.
No, I think that's right.
But 10 is way too many, regardless of the technicality of it all. So I think that's a pressure point for OU's their offensive line.
No question. I'll give the stat that Gabe Eicher goes through all the game tape, and so he kind of counted it up. So I'll give him credit for that. But not 10 sacks. But it was a bunch. And it's way too many. I'll start with the positives because I think what we saw was the Jackson Arnold that we all had hoped to see. And it wasn't perfect, and he's still a young player, and he hadn't played a lot of football. But Jackson Arnold, he's QB1. And so that's why I thought they panicked, and I said as much in the Tennessee game. Jackson Arnold is your guy. 2 months ago, Brent Venables and company would have sat here and said, Jackson Arnold is our guy, and we know it, and we're sure. And we've had him in our camp and seen him in practice for a long time. And then they oh my gosh, it's not going well. And I thought they panicked. That was the Jackson Arnold that we had all hoped to see most of the year. I think that
was encouraging.
No question about it. I think that you can go into the offseason if you're looking for positives, and they're dying for any positives down there. You can go into the offseason and the rest of this season and at least feel comfortable that we think we have our guy and he's the guy that we thought. The scary part of it for Oklahoma is that offensive line is a complete disaster. They don't. Whether it's 10 sacks or 6 or
Jacob
7
Sexton,
or whatever.
His injury made it rough as well. They played better when he was in the game.
There's no question about it, but they can't block for him. And you might have your quarterback now, but if you can't block at all the rest of the season, you're going to get him hurt, and you're going to be playing Michael Hawkins anyway. So they got to get that figured out, and they've struggled doing that in the transfer portal. So those are discouraging signs, and everything that points to Brent Venables. Here you go. You're going to be a favorite in one more game, and you're looking at another below 500 season. And so what is Oklahoma football? I asked that a couple of weeks ago, and here we are again. OU football is moral victories. You know, you take from
Did you
there,
read
you go,
my notes?
hey, I didn't, but I think that's what it was. You know, you go, man, it wasn't. And I talked to a lot of OU people. They go, it wasn't as bad. And that's what OU is right now. It's a moral victories kind of program. And that's not good enough at the University of Oklahoma. And Brent knows that. But the problem is that we've been saying that, and all the stats go back to worst since 1998, worst since 1997, worst since 1998, and here we are again, worst since 1998, and that's not good enough. The good news for Oklahoma is they have a winnable game on the schedule, at least one they should win. They're going to win this football game Saturday at 1:30 Memorial Stadium. The Maine Black Bears coming to town, and so, look, OU's going to win that game. They will get their 5th win of the season. I think they'll have to struggle and try to figure out how to get number 6 and go to a bowl game. And so with Maine coming to town, at least I think OU fans can go to Memorial Stadium and feel good about winning.
Maine's 4-4. It shows right there. Have yourself a day. Showcase what Jackson Arnold can do. Get the guys open. Receivers-wise, Brennan Thompson, get him the ball, by the way. He's a really great route runner. Get him the ball and have some fun out there and see what you can do to boost this program's confidence. You said moral victories, but I think it would be a morale boost in a lot of ways if they can just, in a way, pad those numbers.
Look, no, we're sitting here talking about moral victories at the University of Oklahoma. It's just, it's not good enough. Everybody knows that, but I just think the rest of the season, at least you get a get-right game. And they've been searching for a get-right game. A get-right game. Can we get right? Can we feel good? Can we go home on a Saturday night as winners? And then at least give yourself a chance in 2 weeks at Columbia, Missouri, because I think that is a winnable game against a Missouri team that's
definitely
disappointing.
Yeah.
Missouri's better, I think, but I mean, it's a winnable game. And then you got Alabama, and then at LSU, I give them very little chance to win. Get right. Find a way to beat Missouri. Get bowl eligible, and at least for as bad as this season was, it would feel worse going into the offseason.
One game at a time, stack them, stack the wins.
You're at least going to win on Saturday. I feel very comfortable saying that. Stay with us because the same cannot be said at Oklahoma State. A sure win for the Cowboys, who did not win yesterday. Welcome back to the show tonight. Brian Keating alongside Hannah Hoover. We talked about Oklahoma, who's been disappointing. Let's get into the OSU Cowboys, who have also been disappointing. Roll the video. They were on the road yesterday against the Baylor Bears. And here's the deal about OSU. They cannot stop anyone from running the football. To the tune of 345 yards rushing. The Cowboys are next to last in college football, allowing 264 yards rushing a game. The tackling is just nowhere to be found. And they lose 38-28.
You know, we got a few guys that are beat up that aren't practicing very much, that are playing in games, but that's not an excuse. We have to be better than that. And I shared with them that they need to do some soul searching. You know, they need to watch the video and look and give themselves an honest opinion of how they played.
Well, that's the head coach. He is right about that. They ought to give themselves an honest opinion. I'll give it to you. The rushing yards in the fourth quarter and the defense, it's bad.
Yeah, the run defense is a problem. That's an understatement. Dawson Pendergrass has 6 carries for 142 yards, a touchdown. One drive alone, he had 48 yards and 39 yards back to back. So that's a tough pill to swallow there. But I will say something positive. Brennan Presley, he keeps things rolling.
No doubt.
I love to watch this guy. He's so fun. 15 receptions for 183 yards. Brennan Presley, keep things rolling for the Pokes because he's doing a heck of a job helping out his quarterback too, Alan Bowman.
Yep.
I think that Alan Bowman, this wasn't his best game, but it definitely wasn't his worst game either. I think he did a pretty good job. Overall, it was the defense that gave the Cowboys fits. I mean, they just, like you said, the tackling wasn't helpful. It wasn't there.
No tackling. It's right. It's interesting to me when Mike says soul searching, he must be reading my tweets because right before the game was over, I said,
you're reading my notes, he's reading your tweets.
I said Mike Gundy needs to do some soul searching, and then he comes out in his press conference and he said his team needs to do some soul searching. But I think the head coach needs to look in the mirror a little bit. Soul searching right. In the last 20 conference football games at Oklahoma State, over 3 seasons. So this is not a bad year situation. This is they are 8-12. in their
Okay.
last 3 seasons in the Big 12. And I think Mike Gundy needs to look at himself in the mirror, and he needs to figure out what kind of football coach and what kind of football program he wants to have. And if he wants to compete at the highest level of college football, because I think he's gotten very comfortable, and he's got 2 coordinators that are considered the worst graded offensive and defensive coordinator in his own conference, and that's not good enough. And here's the real issue. One, he's going to have to make changes, and he's going to have to reset, and he'll get the opportunity to reset. The thing that makes me the most nervous about watching that football team play is that you can watch the video. When Mike says he wants people to watch the video, watch it. He should watch it, because we're going to sit here and talk about effort in the fourth quarter. And there are a lot of examples of guys tackling and the effort isn't there. And if we're talking about effort, I mean, that is the worst thing that you could say about a football program, that the effort is not there. And it's not there on defense. Guys are running and kind of arm tackling, and they're lollygagging a little bit, and that's not good enough. And Mike used to be a football coach that wanted to compete at the highest levels of college football. And I think later he's gone in his career, I don't think that's the case anymore. So Mike's going to get a reset. And we'll talk a lot more about the end of the season. But I think we're to a point in OSU's season when you've lost 5 in a row. They're probably not going to go to a bowl game. You begin to be able to talk about big picture stuff. And I think Mike's got to look at himself in the mirror and decide, how hard do I want to work and how much do I want to have a big-time football program again? Because the product that they're putting out there on the field right now is not nearly good enough. They are last in the country, 134th in the country at rushing yards per attempt. They give up 6 yards every time someone runs the football. That is terrible. It is not good enough. Changes are going to have to be made, and the head coach is going to have to figure out exactly what those changes are going to be. I know I went long there. They got a game coming up on Saturday.
They sure do.
Look, the problems are aplenty in Stillwater, so it's hard to be concise. But I think the problems start with the head football coach deciding what program he wants to have. Can they win on Saturday? They have 4 games remaining. They need to win 3 of them to get to a bowl game.
And I'll just start with this. Let's start with the stat. I like the stats. This is the 3rd time in 2 decades that Mike Gundy's teams have lost 5 in a row. Okay, so they've snapped the streak in 2005 against Texas Tech. They snapped the streak in 2014 against OU in overtime. So what you got to do against Arizona State is you have to snap the streak, because you cannot go 0-6. They know this. Everyone knows this in the Big 12 and any conference. You cannot go 0-6 in this conference, and it's homecoming week, and there'll be a lot of people there, and I think you just have to find a way to win. They're picked favorites, I will say, against Arizona State. The one person that I will mention to look out for, it's their running back. Cam Skattebo is his name, and he's put up 158 yards against Utah alone. If we go back, roll the tape back, Utah gave OSU issues.
Beat 'em up.
So that's kind of an alarming stat there. That's a guy to look out for when it comes to the run defense, because that was the missing piece against Baylor.
Is there any fight left? See it on Saturday. Very simple. Is there any fight left in that football team? We'll find out. We'll be right back.
Has the basketball. Mitchell put it up high. Holmgren puts it down hard. Big time play.
Well, the Thunder are fun. We spent, 15 minutes talking about 2 football
Skip
teams
to the
that aren't
good
any
part.
good. But here's the good. This team's going to challenge to win the NBA championship. They were terrific tonight in the home opener. SGA had 35. Chet's been dynamic. And they'll be back at home on Wednesday. This will be a fun one, too. You got Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul, who is one of my mom's favorites.
All
Chris
right.
Paul, I got to throw her in there.
Yeah, Mrs. Keating. Shout out to her and Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, she loves Chris Paul. So does everybody else. See you.